Hey, what's up you guys? It's Bloody Jacob here to bring you my general review thoughts video on Season 2 of the Vampire Diaries. And if you guys look back on my channel, you'll see I did a general review thoughts video on Season 1 of this show. And yes, I do have gum in my mouth, so keep that in mind as you listen. But I did review Season 1. I really love the show. I think it's a great show. And if you want to hear me talk about more of my general, early first impressions on it, you can go back and watch that Season 1 review I did. I don't plan on this video going quite as long as that video was, though. I think that one went about 40 minutes or something like that. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit shorter, hopefully 20 minutes to 30 tops. But we'll see, no promises, though. And really, I do think it's a great show because I'll just reiterate what I said before and what I've said on plenty of forums as well. I think it goes far above and beyond that initial Twilight stereotype a lot of people have for it. You look at these comments on Facebook and stuff, with randomly, just an example, Movie Pilot Vampires, their Facebook page. They were posting about the Vampire Diaries, and a bunch of videos came out and said, "Oh yeah, that show's so fucking gay, yeah." First off, I didn't realize "fuggin" was a word, but if it is, I don't think it's fuggin. Fuggin awesome maybe, but not fuggin gay, whatever that means. I guess people like to use that word in completely wrong circumstances nowadays, but anyway. And then I see comments like that, and I just, shake my head completely because I just know these people go into it without an open mind. They're misinformed. They probably haven't even watched enough of the show to really say that. And yes, it has romance in it. It has the Damon, Elena, Stefan love triangle. It's the heart of the show, but they do it so well. I like romance. I'll say it. Not in all cases though. Don't put words in my mouth. But with this, it's so well done. It has so much depth to it, and really though, I think it's really well written, and I think adults can enjoy it as well, male or female, teens too, obviously. But I think it appeals to a wider demographic than what people give it credit for. It does get pretty good ratings. It has it down in the 18 to 49 age demographic, or whatever that is. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I think it really has a wide appeal. And, the writing has so much more depth. It's clever, it's smart, it's well thought out, it connects things really well. And Season 2 is really no exception. As far as which season I prefer so far, Season 1 or Season 2, it's hard to say because there are things I really liked a lot about Season 1, and that was my first viewing of the show, so of course, Season 1 probably got me more excited than it might have had I seen it before. But there are things I liked about both seasons, but I'd say they just fit together really well. You could really put them together and be a really great story. And that's something else about it, is that they connect things so well, and it really flows really, really well from episode to episode. There's really no filler episodes in the show. Even when there is episodes of slightly less events that occur with the main story, there's always something they put in there that advances that plot somewhat. Or they have some kind of big twist, which actually happens pretty often. And, really, it's just such a clever show. The characters are relatable, very relatable. The acting is very good, especially from our three leads, Nina Dobrev, of course, as Elena and Catherine. And, of course, Ian Somerhalder as Damon, my favorite character. And then you have, of course, Paul Wesley as Stefan, who still... I always debate between Stefan and Damon. It's just going to happen when you watch the show. But I'm not in it for... I'm not just into them because I think they're hot or something. If you do, that's great. That probably helps. But it's not that for me. For me, it's just because they're really good characters. They have a lot of history. They have a lot of background, and their relationship as brothers is really what still drives the show to me. It's a big part of it anyway, and they just have such a rich history that's so well felt. It's made to be really believable, and you get the hate that Damon has for Stefan, and likewise, and vice versa, and stuff like that. You get their history, yet they still care about each other enough to defend each other when it comes down to it, which I think is really great. And those moments are some of the best on the show. But yeah, obviously the show has a very, very large seasons, 22 episodes per season, so I can't really go through it all, or otherwise I'd take way too long. But I did want to generally talk about some things that happened this season, or in season 2 anyway. So I've a lot of catching up to, and I mean a lot. I got 22 episodes in season 3, 22 episodes in season 4, 5, and then I have to eventually see season 6 somehow. I have to wait for that to come out on DVD to add to my collection, but hopefully I can find a way to see the season before I think that DVD release down the line. But so yeah, I just want to go through some things about the plot in season 2 really quickly. Not really quickly, but you get my point. You can see I have the DVD here. Not my favorite cover, but it's still nice enough. Yeah, you can see the back of it. I have like a haul video where I show the cover and the overall DVD case and stuff like that a little bit more, so you can find that if you really want to see me showing off that a little bit more. But the inside of this is still really cool. I like these things a lot. And yeah, to start off, may as well talk about my favorite episodes of the season. And that's really hard to do because, like I said, each episode has something in it that progresses something important that we care about, or at least is entertaining. So there's not really a filler episode in this. So it makes it kind of hard to pick a favorite episode because they all have events that I'd really like to mention, but I'm not going to be able to do that. I know there's going to be plenty of things I forget here. And if you really feel the need to remind me of it because I'm an idiot, or you just want to hear my thoughts on that specific thing, feel free to comment below and let me know. That's a shout out to Jeremy Johns there, like he needs it, but still, awesome reviewer. Check him out. Yeah, comment below, let me know. Okay, I'm done with the poor impersonations right now, or the poor impressions. I apologize. But anyway, my favorite episodes of the season. I doubt he'd like the show anyway, but still. Anyway, back to the point of the video. I really love the premiere, the season 2 premiere. The return, because we had such a cliffhanger ending for season 1. With Catherine's return, and we're really seeing her in full force at the end of the season 1 finale. And, of course, she chopped off John's fingers and then probably stabbed him a few times. And so John Gilbert's in the hospital, Uncle John. And, we'll get to talk about him a little bit more later as well, because he has a huge development, especially towards the end of the season. But we'll get to him a little bit more later. And so Catherine's first appearance was great. Although I thought she killed John at the end of season 1, so I almost in a way would have preferred that she actually did kill him. But in a way, I'm glad she didn't, because we, like I said, got such huge development at the end of the season. So, yeah, it's a double-edged sword, basically, as far as that goes. And one of my favorite things about the season was actually Catherine playing such a significant role. Again, Nina Dobrev, she completely saw. I'm not the most verbally. I'm not the most verbally talented kid on the block, so excuse me when I stutter and screw up my wording sometimes. But she is such a shining part of this whole show, because she plays, two completely different characters. Elena, she's compassionate and generous and, just a really good person in general, dealing with everything that's she's now being pulled into further and further. Whereas Catherine, is more about self-preservation. She's mainly concerned about herself. Although in this, we really feel like she actually does, love Stefan to a certain degree in her own way anyway, even though she is as selfish as she is. Like, I think it was in episode 4 here. We find out, how Catherine escaped the tomb. But, of course, we find out she basically compelled the guard to, let her out. And then we've seen her and one of the werewolf Lockwood ancestors sort of like working together with the Moonstone and stuff. And we'll get to talk more about that, the Moonstone and the, the Sun and the Moon curse later. But, I really love the Memory Lane episode. And back to I'm gonna backtrack a lot here. The Memory Lane episode, the return episode, the premiere of season 2. I really like that a lot because we got a scene with Catherine and Stefan early on and stuff like that. We really see the psychology between the two. Catherine's really manipulative and stuff. Except I do think she legitimately cares about Stefan, at least to a certain degree, in her own different way, compared to Elena and stuff. But you see that Stefan, is just not going to buy anything she's selling whatsoever. Catherine gives some cute little looks. She giggles and puts her hand on her lips or mouth or face or whatever, and that's really cute. By the way, I love Nina Dobrev. But so that was like really some of the best of season 2. Everything involving Catherine. This brings up a great psychology between Stefan and Damon, especially. And we sort of find out throughout the season that Damon sort of hit hard by it all, because he has spent how long trying to bring her back when he thought she was trapped in the tomb for the past 100+ years. And he finds out that she didn't really love him. It's always Stefan. It's always going to be Stefan. And, we get a similar line from Elena to him in the season as well, which, it just really, hurts him. And the phone is ringing, but I'll still keep talking to you guys for a while longer. Tis a bit distracting, isn't it? Tis. Okay, anyway. So that was all great, and, Damon goes through a huge psychology in this as well, as I mentioned before. And, so that's it, you guys. I'll catch you guys next time, and peace. I'm kidding. I did that in the last video, too, so it's probably not even that funny at all. But, and back to this Memory Lane episode 4, season 2. We find out the real answer to what Catherine actually did to escape and stuff like that. And the ending scene of that episode is just phenomenal. We get a great song. That's something I still love about the show. The soundtrack they have and the music they play in certain scenes is just really fitting, and they really they don't overplay it. They really know when to pick it, and it's often, but it still almost always works well. So I love the Memory Lane episode. That was really good. We got all those answers, which are elaborated as the season goes on as well. Another episode I really loved from the season in particular was Masquerade, episode 7. I'll read you the description. Stefan and Dan will lurk behind party masks at a lavish masquerade ball, preparing to kill their target, Catherine, and inadvertently Elena. And, what that means is, Catherine had her witch friend, put a spell on Elena, which means, whatever pain Catherine felt, Elena would feel as well, which is basically her way of, stopping Stefan or Damon from killing her, because they knew they'd be harming Elena. And I just love all the party scenes in that, of course, with, Tyler hooking up with Matt's mom and stuff like that, but that's, anyway. Tyler really grew as a character this season as well, because as we got some little hints at in season 1, he's becoming a werewolf. And yeah, we'll talk more about werewolves a little bit later. And yeah, I say and yeah a lot, so get used to it. And yeah, so I just love the whole party scene in that, the whole like older period stuff and things like that. And when Damon and Stefan are basically spelled and trapped in a room with Catherine, you get some great exchanges between the three of them. And I can't do those justice, but if you really want to see that scene, look it up for yourself. And I probably do have it saved on my favorites somewhere, because actually each episode of the Vampire Diaries I watch, I look up scenes of each episode and save them to my favorites, so you can kind of keep track of what episode I'm on and stuff if you look at my favorites on my channel. So you can probably find that if you go to 207. And yeah, let's see. Like I said, just because I don't mention an episode doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the episode. Because, like I said, there's like no filler for any of this. So, but yeah, I'm just saying the ones in particular that really screamed to me. So yeah, another one I really liked was Daddy Issues, number 13. And I'll read you the description. When John returns to Mystic Falls, secrets and blood are spilled. Jules and her Wolfman lover terrorize a vampire hostage. And her Wolfman lover was, I think his name was Brady on the show. He's actually, I forget the actor's name, but he plays Arrow on, Oliver Queen on the CW's Arrow show. So it's kind of funny to see him here. He was alright for the role he had. And I loved Daddy Issues because I've posted it on Facebook, so let me look that up real quick. Quite a while ago, I know, but let me see if I can find it. Let's see. I know as soon as I see it, I'm going to remember what it was talking about. Bear with me, guys. Okay, I can't find it now. Maybe I'll just look up some scenes from it real quick. See, I can't remember everything, guys. I'm going to need a little bit of help here and there. But once I see it, I'll get my memory going. Yeah, that was great as well, because we got that scene with Damon and the reporter. The song where they actually, the scene where they actually play the song "Losing Your Memory" from, which is actually one of my favorite songs. When Damon's in the tub with the reporter, and he explains how he loves Elena, and she wants him to be the better man, but that means he can't be who he is, because he, has always embraced what he is, a vampire and stuff like that. But yeah, as he hears from the reporter, she actually has some wisdom once she is calmed by him. And she says, love does that to us, Damon, it changes you. And yeah, that's when we really start seeing the process of this all. We've seen the slow build up for Damon since season 1, and now it's just progressing more and more, which is one of the best things about this season as well. And that's one thing I did like a little bit better about season 2 in a way, because in season 1, a little bit better in season 1 in a way, because in season 1, it was a little bit less clear whether Damon was, going to be a villain or like an anti-hero hero type of character. And now we can kind of see at this point, he's definitely more of a good guy character, except he's still, in my opinion, the most layered and complex character on the show. So he's still my favorite by far. But I like Stefan pretty well too, and Elena is really likable, and I actually like Catherine quite a bit. So there's that. Yeah, I could like name every episode on here and say I really liked them, because I really did. But yeah. and we can talk about the finale and the last two episodes especially pretty soon here. Of course, the big storyline that became like a core part of season 2 was the introduction of Elijah and Klaus. And, those are big names in the show for sure. Of course, both being characters in the spin-off series, the originals. Which, unfortunately for me, spoils some of it because I know because of that they're not going to die. And I know because of that, Klaus sort of changes a little bit, or he has, like, certain motivations that might be a little bit redeeming. So that kind of, like, spoils part of it for me. But still, nonetheless, the introduction of these guys was great. The way they hyped Klaus until his first appearance this season was just really, really well done. Because we hear, he's the old, Elijah and Klaus are both from the oldest family of vampires. And, they say Klaus is the most deadly and powerful, and he's, ruthless and all that. So the way they really hyped him up was really well done. And even Elijah's first appearance was, really memorable. I forget what episode it was exactly, but, who also made an appearance in the show for a few episodes was Lauren Cohen, who plays Maggie on The Walking Dead. You guys should know her. She had a role as Rose in season 2 of this, and she did pretty well as well. She got to use her usual British accent that she has in real life. And, it's kind of tragic what eventually happened to her, but we'll get into that in a few minutes, most likely. And maybe Elijah's first appearance, with killing Rose's brother and stuff after Rose and her brother Trevor had kidnapped Elena because, she's the doppelganger, and she's connected to this sun and the moon curse I mentioned earlier. And, it has to do with, the curses are pretty much on the werewolves and vampires, saying that the werewolves are restricted to only one night a month, and, the vampires, can only, go out during the nighttime, of course, except minus the rings with, magic and stuff like that Damon and Stefan have. And, there's other ones out there too, things like that. Some of them have bracelets and necklaces and stuff too. And, but what's really revealing about that is it's actually fake. It's not like completely true. It was actually meant for the purpose of Klaus specifically, because he is actually a vampire and werewolf hybrid. And just imagine how powerful that is. A werewolf and a vampire, come on. Basically, that's Damon's reaction. Not the exact wording, mind you, but that's basically his general thoughts. And, that Aztec curse was actually, planted onto him to, restrict his power so he couldn't become that powerful. Because his mother had an affair with a werewolf lover at some point, and, thus he became a hybrid. The phone, again. Okay. Anyway. So it was all meant to restrict Klaus, and he needs the doppelganger, a human sacrifice, the doppelganger specifically. And as you know, Elena is the doppelganger of Catherine. And, he can't use Catherine anymore because, she's a vampire, obviously, and she's actually been on the run from Klaus for, the past 500 or so years. So, Klaus still wants to kill her, but he actually ends up using her as a means to get what he wants in the season as well. And Elijah, actually his first appearance, he kills Rose's brother. He just, one swing takes Trevor's head off, and that was awesome. We see him ripping various hearts out this season as well. So it's all really awesome. And he turns into a very, very intriguing character. Elijah does as well. He actually tries to help them towards the end, sort of flips around for his own reasons, which are actually sort of understandable. We can get to that when we talk about the final 2 episodes. So yeah, that whole original storyline starting is just really good. Klaus is a great villain. And I know because of him having his own show, there's more to him. We're going to find out more about him as it goes on. That makes him a little bit more, like I said, maybe redeeming. But even right now at this point, I love him as a villain. I think he's really, really good. He's menacing. Just a really, you feel the power they say he does. It's believable once you see him. So I like all that. And yeah, we're catching up to my season 1 review with the time we're at right now. I'll only try to go maybe like 5 or 10 more minutes with it all. I'll try. So it was all really good, and I said I'd talk about werewolves this season, and I'll use that to get into what happened to Rose as well. Tyler's a werewolf, of course. I liked his development in this season a lot. Because it has to do with him and Caroline. They have a growing bond this season. Of course, Caroline turning into a vampire is a big part of the earlier part of the season as well. I'm not the biggest Caroline fan. You see, one of the negatives of me watching the show so late into the series is, one of the negatives of me starting the show and it's been on for so many years is that you hear things in general, like who's even a name drop, season 6 blank blank. I generally know who's still around in the season they're in right now, which is season 6. So I know Caroline's still around, I do believe. So I don't really like Caroline that much. She's better as a vampire. She's more interesting than she was as a human, of course. And I do appreciate how it changed her and had her develop a little bit. And I like drama that goes on between her and her mom, with her mom being the sheriff and hell-bent on stopping any vampire activity in Mystic Falls. So that's good, but Caroline herself, I'm not the biggest fan. So I kind of hope I like her to get killed off in season 3 or 4, but I know it's probably not going to happen. It probably doesn't happen. But it's not to the point where I hate her character either. It's just she's lower than others to me on the show. But yeah, as far as werewolves go, Tyler, I did like his development quite a bit this season. And his brother Mason coming in. Mason was working with Catherine to try and get the Moonstone, which is part that Klaus needed to lift the curse that I mentioned earlier. That was Catherine's way of getting out of it, was to give it to him. And I love the way Mason is eventually killed. Tyler's uncle. He's killed by Damon. He's tortured and basically has his heart torn out. I love how they always go for that. That's brutal. It's awesome. Yes, there was a fair amount of gore this season. Between all hearts we got ripped out and the decapitations and the blood drinking, of course, there's a good amount of violence on the show, and I like it. It's not overdone. It's not too much really at all. But when they do it, it's really, really impactful and stuff. So I like it a lot. The action's intense and stuff too. But we're talking about season 2 specifically. And werewolves, Tyler is one now, and Mason was as well. My thoughts on werewolves on the show. I'm not really a fan of the design at all, I'll be honest. I don't really like the whole regular wolves werewolf look. Because they don't look like a werewolf, they just look like a regular wolf, and I don't really like that. I prefer the Wolfman style werewolves, or even the Van Helsing, Hugh Jackman type, or something like that. Especially the Wolfman version, specifically. I prefer to have them humanoid and, that man and wolf cross look and stuff like that. I don't really like the regular wolf look that they have in here and things like Twilight and stuff. But this is a million times better than Twilight. Don't get my words mixed up. This is 1,000 times better, infinitely better. But I'm not a fan of the design they chose for the werewolves on this show. But the way they handle them actually almost redeems it all, because the tone they have, it's really intense. You're actually nervous. It's actually somewhat, I don't want to say scary, but it's almost like you're on the edge of your seat when there's a werewolf running around, and it's nighttime in the woods and stuff. So they really have the tone and atmosphere of it down, so I can almost get past this whole design issue I have with it because of the way they handle it, which is really, really good. because on this show, one werewolf bite is actually fatal to a vampire, and it makes them, sick, and then they slowly die. They become rabid, and then they slowly die from it, like a sickness. And that's how, unfortunately, Lauren Cohen, Maggie from The Walking Dead, goes out in this. She dives in front of Damon and is bitten by Tyler, and yeah, and her death scene eventually is really well handled. She turns rabid, she tries to attack Elena and stuff like that, and she's like going around town, slaughtering people. And it's really badass to see Maggie as a vampire too. She played a good vampire, and Damon eventually gets her back, and she sort of dreams, and it's a really touching scene because Damon's with her and he's sort of like holding her before he finally puts the stake in her heart and kills her. So that was all really beautiful and really well done, I thought. And let's see what else I want to talk about. More werewolf later, that's for sure. And I could go on about the season. I could talk about each episode, but I'm just going to skip to the final two here. Of course, with Klaus finally being able to capture Elena for his ritual that he needs to perform to lift the curse. He has the moonstone and such. He compelled Catherine. And unfortunately, Damon is actually bitten by a werewolf in the latter part of the season. And, it's really well done when they find out. When Stefan finds out, especially when Elena finds out. And since Klaus couldn't use Damon because he's been by a werewolf, so he actually couldn't use him because the blood is tainted. He actually kills Jenna, Elena and Jeremy's uncle in this. And Jeremy, by the way, before I forgot, I liked how his relationship with Bonnie actually developed this season as well. I approve of that relationship. I ship it a little bit. I'm not overly crazy about that. It's not like Rashon or anything, but I do really like how their relationship grew into a romance, and I like how Elena reacted to it as well. She was very fair and kind about it, and she actually approved, which is cool. And but yeah, Jenna actually finds out about what's happening. Of course, because of John being around, she grows increasingly suspicious of Alaric and his activities and stuff, and he can't really tell her. As he says, it's not really his place to tell her about all of this anyway. When she's Elena's hand and stuff, so maybe Elena should be the one to tell her. But, because of all that, Jenna does eventually find out about the whole world around her and stuff. And, which doesn't last too long, unfortunately, even though she shows she could actually start to deal with it. Klaus captures her and kills her and turns her into a vampire. So she's a part of the ritual because he needed to sacrifice the doppelganger, Elena, one vampire and one werewolf. And the werewolf he sacrifices is actually Jules, who we've seen earlier this season with Brady, and she's the one who helped Tyler with his, dealing with his curse and stuff like that. But she is brutally killed by Klaus. And then Jenna, she's a vampire now, which is shocking enough. And her and Elena have a very emotional goodbye. And Damon unfortunately can't do anything about it, or at least as far as Klaus knew. And Klaus thought he had killed Bonnie earlier, but Bonnie had actually remained alive and tricked him. And it was a part of a whole setup for Bonnie to help take Klaus down, which was a pretty cool reveal. And she came out, and Klaus thought she was dead, so that was awesome. Badass moment from Bonnie there. And Elena and Jenna share a very emotional goodbye. And it was a tough scene to watch because Jenna had meant so much to not only Elena but Jeremy and Alaric as well. And she is unfortunately staked by Klaus. And yes, Klaus does drink Elena's blood, which actually should have completed the ritual, and it did. But as he's in transition, from going to from vampire to werewolf into that hybrid, as he's turning into a werewolf for the first time. That's when he was at his weakest, so that was when they were going to try to kill him. Stefan actually showed up, sacrificed himself in Jenna's place, but as I already said, that didn't really work out. But I did like the shot of Stefan when he showed up at the ritual, he's sitting on top of the rock and stuff. That was really cool. Excuse me. But yeah, and so he tried to attack Klaus when he's in transition there, and Elijah actually turned into more like an anti-hero character this season because he actually tried to help Stefan, Damon, Elena, and the rest of them. And because he had something against his brother as well, he explains to Stefan earlier how Klaus had like slaughtered each member of their family and he scattered them at sea. And so Elijah, Stefan sort of like worries that because your brothers, I want to kill mine 1,000 times, Damon, but I never can. I can never bring myself to actually kill him for good. But Elijah, after all Klaus had done to him and how that's affected him, he is willing to do it at first. And once Bonnie actually sort of temporarily disables Klaus, Elijah actually shoves his hand into Klaus's chest and is about to rip his heart out and kill him. And I was pretty excited there, but Klaus actually reveals that he didn't get rid of the family's bodies like that. He actually has them somewhere stored that he could, and Klaus said Elijah would never be able to find them had he killed him there. So Elijah makes a difficult decision to let Klaus live, and he sort of lets Klaus escape and helps him get away in time. So Klaus is going to be in it later on, of course, as I already kind of knew, but yet it was still shocking to see Elijah go back and forth on it. But I did sort of understand him, and in a way I sort of think Stefan did too. To sway him not wanting that, obviously. And of course it has a great funeral scene for Jenna. It's really emotional. It got me a little bit teary-eyed, especially when we see Alaric, standing over Jenna's grave and putting the rose down. Just to seeing the pain in his expression and face, it's almost heartbreaking in a way. And John Gilbert, Uncle John, actually dies this season too, because he has the ring and he sort of like transfers it over to Elena and Jeremy and stuff like that. And once he did that, he automatically died when he chose to do that. And it was kind of depressing because he died alone and no one was really paying attention to him. But he actually leaves. I might have explained that the wrong way with how he died and why he died, but I apologize. But he actually leaves a note for Elena, and he explains how he wishes he could have been more open or more willing to listen about the whole vampire world, and he wishes he wasn't as stuck on it. And he apologizes for not being a good father for her, and he really almost kind of redeems himself in his death. And he knew about the whole ritual thing going on, and Damon had actually fed Elena his blood, so if she was killed she would have turned into a vampire. But that didn't happen, obviously, if you've seen the episode. And John developed quite a bit because he actually said, I love you the same way, no matter if you're reading this as a human or as a vampire, I love you all the same. So that was a really touching letter. And then the way Stefan reacts when Damon, tells him about it and shows him the werewolf bite. After everything that's happened between them, Stefan still does absolutely everything to try and save Damon, try and find a cure to that werewolf bite. He goes to Catherine and stuff like that, and then we find out that the cure for a werewolf bite is actually in Klaus's blood. And so Stefan actually sort of like sacrifices himself to get the cure for Damon. He basically says he's going to give himself over to Klaus. And, Klaus, we're going to go over the Season 1 review time here. But it doesn't matter, I love talking about this. But, and Klaus only allows him to get the cure on one condition from his blood. Is that he knows the vampire Stefan used to be, and he's more ruthless and, drunk on blood all the time, alive and stuff like that. He wants that vampire to work with him. And so he basically says, okay, I'll give you the cure, but only if you're this vampire and you do what I say and you serve me and help me do what I want to do. And Stefan completely unselfishly does it. And, Klaus, feeds him blood pack after blood pack after blood pack and sort of gets him addicted to it. And we see in season 1 how Stefan is when he gets that much blood and when he's, completely consumed by it again. And, we see him kill an innocent girl that Klaus sets up for him and different things like that. And even Catherine looks horrified to see Stefan, feeding like that, because she knows what that's doing to him in the struggle and that how he's so torn with it all. But, of course, she's all about self-preservation, so she doesn't really do anything to help him there, but she probably would have died if she tried to anyway. And so Stefan makes a huge sacrifice, and Klaus actually does give Catherine the cure to run back to Damon. And there is a question whether Catherine would actually go to Damon and bring the cure, or if she was just going to bolt off and try and escape by herself without doing anything. But she actually does bring the cure to Damon, as the final episode is called, As I Lay Dying, which would really worry me, but, I knew Damon was still around after this season, but it was still really emotional, and really, nerve-wracking and stuff. Really intense. And As I Lay Dying, the season finale was absolutely incredible with some things I already mentioned. And yes, just before Catherine gets the cure to Damon, Elena had found out what was happening to Damon, and she came to talk to him. Damon is, slowly dying, laying on his bed, and Elena laid next to him, and we get like a Delana moment here, I think it's called. The first, not the first, but the first time Elena actually sort of, you see her, really developing feelings for Damon here. And, we see Damon saying things like, I blame Stefan for this and that over the years, but tell him I'm sorry for all of it, pretty much. He put it in better words, to look up the scene in the As I Lay Dying episode if you want to see how it was really done. And he tells Elena to apologize to Stefan for him, for everything. He's forced Stefan to put up with that he's done. And, he also wishes Elena could have met him in 1864 before he was turned into a vampire, because she would have liked the person he used to be. But then she actually says, I like you now, just the way you are. And it was really well acted and so emotional and just incredible. And Elena actually slowly leans in and kisses Damon on the lips. So yeah, that's a pretty big thing. Of course, Damon probably enjoyed that. But I've been wanting Damon to get what he wants since season 1, really. And I know it's going to go into a Damon and Elena relationship eventually in season 3, I believe. And I'm kind of supporting that because Stefan's on his own thing right now, but I know he's going to be pissed off once he finds out about this whole thing. Stefan and, Elena and Damon's growing bond. So yeah, of course, Klaus gets away, and, as, he's having Stefan get addicted to all this blood again, he also not really stakes, but uses a special knife that's supposed to kill an original as long as you don't pull a knife out of him. And that was brought up way earlier this season. And he stabs Elijah with it and, puts him away with the rest of the family, who he didn't put at sea, but, he probably, put them all down in that similar way. But I'm sure we'll see Elijah released again at some point, which should be really interesting when that happens. But yeah, so huge development with all that. And let's see. I'm just going to go to the scenes I saved from the final episode to be sure there's not another one I specifically want to talk about. It's great because even after Jenna's death, we see Alaric, he's slowly becoming more and more of a parental figure, to Jeremy and Elena, so that's really cool. Let's see. And of course, Damon, sort of saying all the wrong he did and stuff, I made the wrong choice and things like that. Yeah, okay. And, yeah. Something else I wanted to mention that I almost forgot about, but I'm really glad I didn't, is the flashbacks we had earlier in the season with Lexi. Remember Lexi from season 1, Stefan's oldest friend, over 300 years old. She was unfortunately killed by Damon as part of his plan. And we see flashbacks with her in it, and how she really showed him how to be good. And the tragic thing in it all is what Stefan is forced to do at the end of the season, which I already talked about. But it was great seeing Lexi in those flashbacks, and I hope we see the actress return for other things in the future. Maybe she'll somehow be resurrected or something. Who knows? It's possible on this show. So I really loved all the flashbacks, and Damon telling Lexi to help Stefan back in the 1860s and stuff. So that was all really fantastic stuff. And I like all the period flashbacks too. They're always really well done, well constructed. And yeah, and of course Jeremy having that power transferred over from John. He has that ring now and stuff like that. He always had that ring, but anyway. We actually get a pretty interesting cliffhanger with Jeremy actually seeing Anna and Vicky, his two girls from season 1. I hated that Anna got killed off at the end of season 1, so I'm glad she's back to some capacity. And Vicky being back, I wasn't as big a fan of her, but I know it's going to bring up a lot of stuff for Jeremy, so that should be good anyway. And I don't know if they're actually alive now, or if they're, if Jeremy's just able to see them now because of this extra thing he has in him now that he can see dead or something. I'm not sure what it is yet, but we'll find out in season 3, I'm sure. So yeah. I know there's a lot of things I probably didn't mention. I apologize for that. But I did just want to go over my thoughts about it. I did get into some specifics, so you can give me some credit for that. But yeah, season 2 was a very good season. Just as good, if not better, than season 1. I'm really eager to start season 3, which I should be doing tonight. And of course, once I eventually do finish season 3, which will be quite a while from now, I will do a video on that. So yeah. Vikings is on tonight, but me and my dad are watching The Strain together, and he's watching it for the first time, and I've been enjoying rewatching it. So we're going to finish that before I review Vikings. But I still plan on reviewing Vikings, but if I don't catch up and review this episode from tonight, I apologize. But within a few days, I might still have a review of that episode up. But yeah, of course, my Walking Dead reviews and stuff are coming, and different things like that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you actually stuck around for what's going to be 47 or 48 minutes now. So I apologize for how long this video was. I know it's probably not really worth it. But yeah, I did really like season 2. I can't wait to see what season 3 brings. It just the show has such a really good consistency. It's always really, really good so far. Every episode, every season I've seen so far. So yeah, I'll catch you guys next time for whatever video I upload. And peace.